Well, hello again, BookTube. Even though today is Wednesday, I wanted to do this book tag. This is the first date book tag, and it was created by Marlicia at Marlicia's Meanderings and Tahlia at Tahlia Nerds Out. BookTube, two BookTube channels that I've never heard of them, but I really liked the prompts, and I thought the questions were interesting, and so I thought, well, why don't I give this a try? I saw this on Steve Donahue's channel. He did this tag, even though he did not tag me, because I presume he hates me, but what else is new in our marriage? So let's just do these prompts. Prompt number 1 is, what books do you regret buying? And I would say for the most part, this would be any book that I bought at full price or anything in a regular retail bookstore. The price of new books is just ridiculous now. I almost never buy new books or full priced books anymore, just because they're ridiculous. I'm old enough to remember whenever mass market paperbacks were like $5, and the most expensive books would be hardcovers, and those would be at most like $25. And now I was just in a retail bookstore last week, and like their regular trade paperbacks, most of them started at like $25. So I would say mostly retail books. Question number 2 is, do you DNF books? Why or why not? At what point do you DNF if you do, / how much time do you generally invest in a book before DNFing? For those of you who may not know, DNF means did not finish, or do not finish. And I do DNF books, but it's generally rare. My definition of DNFing a book is like you invest time in a book and you know you are not going to like it, or it makes you so mad that you want to throw it across the room, or you know that you don't ever want to finish it. You just dislike it that much. Like I've had plenty of books, many books, because I'm very much a mood reader, and there are plenty of books where I've started reading them and I thought, well, this isn't the right time for me to read this, and so I'm not completely doing away with it. I'll come back to it later. I've had, that's almost a weekly occurrence with me, but DNFing a book, yes, it's very rare. I mean, a handful of times. I have moaned and groaned about that Don Rickles biography that I tried to read back in April. I think it was by Michael Seth Starr. I absolutely hated that book, and so I knew I was never going to finish it, so that I would consider DNFing a book. So at what point do you DNF? If you do, or how much time? Yeah, so I generally try to give a book about 50 pages before I decide to drop it or punt it or drop kick it. I think 50 pages is pretty generous for a book that is just not working for me, or a book that I just can't stand. What comes to mind right now is Kazuo Ishiguro, the British/Japanese author. I have tried 3 times each to read both The Remains of the Day and Never Let Me Go. Those are his 2 most popular books, and I really could not get into them. I find their writing to be the writing in those books to be so flat and soulless, and the story is just not interesting at all. It moves at a snail's pace, and the characters in those books are just there's no emotion to them at all. I think Steve Donahue actually he refers to, at least when it's in the Japanese literature, as Japanese zombie fiction, where there's just nothing going on and it's really boring. I consider his books that, at least those two books that I tried to read. So those books, I would say I'm never, more than likely never going to finish, because I've tried. I've gotten 100 pages into The Remains of the Day, and just couldn't do it, and never let me go. I tried really hard to like that. I just could not do it. I do not see the hype for him at all. I mean, he won the Nobel Prize in literature, but it's completely lost on me. So yeah, DNFing. Yes. So the reason for DNFing a book would be just, for one, if the author is trying to like condescend to me or patronize me, and also if the book is just really boring, or it's just, I don't know, if it's just really terrible. I mean, I would say it's like what a lot of you do whenever you DNF a book. So I think that answers that question. Question number 3, is there a book you did not want to come to an end or couldn't put down? And I've heard this from other booktubers, or from a lot of readers, where generally it's like one of their favorite books, where they'll say, "Oh my God, I didn't want it to end. It was really long, but I didn't want the book to end. I was just so swept up in it." I've never really had that feeling. I mean, I'm a big reader. Reading is one of my favorite things to do. But I've never had a book where I never wanted it to end. I have had, I've of course had moments where when I finish reading a book and I'll think, "Oh God, that was really good," but I've never wanted a book to not end. I mean, the closest ones that I can think of are War and Peace by Tolstoy and Body and Soul by Frank Conroy. War and Peace that thing is like 1,300 pages long, and as I was getting toward the end of that book, I realized I only had about like 50 pages left in it, and as I was reading it, there's sort of like a long epilogue that Tolstoy does, where about half of it is like the epilogue to the actual story, and then the other half is just him again bloviating about whatever he wants to talk about that has nothing to do with the story. And as I was reading that first part with all the characters, I thought, "Oh, I'm kind of sad that this is ending." Like, I absolutely loved it. Obviously, it's one of my favorite books. And so I was going through it, and I finished the first part, and then I got to the second part, and that's when it just killed the vibe of the whole book. I thought, okay, well, I'm happy that this is over now, so I don't have to listen to Tolstoy just be Tolstoy. If you've read War and Peace, you know what I'm talking about. And Body and Soul by Frank Conroy, I think that is I think I was happy, even though it's my favorite book in all the world. I do think that I was happy for it to end, because I think it's very nearly a perfect novel, at least for me. It's like right at 450 pages. I'm actually rereading it right now, and I think it's at the perfect length. And so, in a way, I was glad for it to end. It's one of my favorite books, so I could reread it until the cows come home. But yeah, I've never read a book. Short answer is I've never read a book that I thought I did not want to end. That's just not the way that I read books. Question number 4 is: have you experienced withdrawal? Pardon my accent. After finishing a specific book, not wanting to move on to other characters, wanting to reread the whole book or sections of it again immediately after finishing. Withdrawal, yeah, I would say I have. back when I used to read Cormac McCarthy's novels, I absolutely loved The Passenger and Stella Maris. I've realized later on that the major plot holes in that whole thing and just the general contempt that Cormac McCarthy had for his readers. But when I first finished The Passenger, it was... Yeah, I was just... I don't even know what you would call it. I guess I was having a withdrawal symptoms from finishing that book, because I couldn't read another book after that for like 2 or 3 weeks. I was just... It just blew me away of how much I loved it. It's interesting that I don't feel that way now about it. I haven't gone back to reread it because I'm afraid that I'm going to hate it again. But yeah, I would say after that, and definitely, again, parts in War and Peace, that I wanted to go back and reread again right after I finished it. And I've reread parts of it, not the whole thing, but I have reread parts that I absolutely loved from it, like Andre when describing himself as the oak tree, or Andre's waltz scene with Natasha, and especially the horrific scenes from when Napoleon invaded Moscow, and Pierre sort of being a walking zombie throughout that whole thing. So, yeah, I have had sort of withdrawal symptoms. And then question number 5 is, what keeps you invested in a book? And I'm not really sure. Like, a lot of my feelings about reading and books and things that I really like are, a lot of it is nonverbal. It's hard for me to articulate it, at least verbally. But I would say what keeps me invested would be how interesting the story is, the pacing of it. Is it moving at a snail's pace, or is it going really fast? And also if it just sort of swallows me up into its world. Again, a reader would know what I'm talking about, would be able to better articulate it. So I guess that. Question number 6 is, what prompts you to pick up a book? Cover, blurb on the back. And for me, like, it's kind of weird because, I have tons and tons of unread books in my little personal library. And if it isn't something that, like, a favorite booktuber of mine has raved about, I'm very much a mood reader, so a lot of times I will read one thing, and then I'll just pick up another book on a completely different subject. So it's hard to explain. I guess it would be how much the book hooks me, because I'm a very fussy reader, and so I finish one book, and then I go to read another one, and if it doesn't immediately hook me, I'll go, oh, not that one, not yet. So go to another one, oh, not that one, not yet. And I guess it would just be how much the book latches its claws onto me whenever I start reading the first 10 pages. So question number 7 is, do you keep finished books to reread, or do you unhaul them? And I guess it would be on how much I liked the book. If I read a book and I just do not like it at all, or if I have to DNF it, then I will not keep that. I will get rid of it. Over the past year, I have reduced a lot of the books in my little personal library, the ones that either I know I'm never going to read, or the books I just did not like. So I got rid of probably about 200 books in the past year, but I have certainly restocked. So my personal library is still completely overflowing. But it also depends on certain editions of the book. So So if I liked the book and I find that there's like a nicer edition of the book that would look nice on the shelf, then I will get that. But if it's a book I did not like, then I will not. Like, perhaps heretically, I bought a copy of The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson and read that and did not like it at all. I just didn't understand why it was so popular. And so I read it twice, and I really just I didn't understand the hype for it at all, and so I got rid of that. So I guess that would be an example. Question number 8 is, who or what do you trust most for book recommendations? And for this one, that would be favorite booktubers of mine, and I guess that would be the answer to that. And there's a bonus question 8.5, and that is, would you ever pick up a book and read it without knowing anything about it, or conversely, let someone else choose your book for you? It being like a blind date. No, I would never do that. It confuses me a little bit that there might actually be a person who does this, that they just pick up a book that they don't know anything about and will just start reading it, which I don't really know how that is possible. Which, if you pick up a book, say at a bookstore, and you don't turn it, do you not just turn it around to read the synopsis of it? That doesn't, like, do you just not do that, or does this question mean like you just never heard about it until you found it in a bookstore or someone recommended it to you? Which, again, if someone recommends it to you, I would think that they would tell you a little bit about the book so that it would hook you. So short answer is no, I would not do that. And so that's the end of this tag. The question number 9 is to tag other people. If you have a booktube channel, especially a new one, and you want to do this, I would say, go ahead. And I'm not sure why this was called the first date book tag. Maybe it's, I guess it's about getting to know a book or getting to know an author better. So, but yeah, that's the end of this tag. I'll see you next time.